First of all, thank you, Adrian and Norman. It's my honor to be invited to this SSB conference again. Hello, everyone. I'm Mikiko from National Institute of Material Science in Japan. Different from the morning session, I'm here as a member from Working Group of Japan Science Council that we are discussing about how to strengthen Japanese journals, scholarly journals, more effectively in global scene. And we have this working group working since 2013, so 2009, and almost takes half day every time we gather, not only me, myself, but also from academics from physics and chemistry and librarians, and often publishers are invited to come to make presentations. So we have quite a hot debate about this, how to global or how to appear to emphasize Japanese journals. And also I'm a member of some of library advisory boards for publishers to speak representative of a National Research Institute Library Consortia. And I'm also on the publishing advisory board for some of society publishers. So I'm here today is from both perspectives as a publisher, as also a librarian. And I'm speaking about National Institute of Material Science as an example. What does global mean to us as a National Institute? And this is one of significant diagram that are present in the Institute saying that IN4. And I didn't really understand this, but it's really becomes independent, interdisciplinary, and innovative international. That means that our institute is a mixture of different cultural people from different countries. And as I said in the earlier session, 25% are from overseas. So we constantly have a different language people discussing and so facing into cultural differences in daily life in the institute. And also our institute has a global collaboration, not only those universities, but also with private sectors to work together for material science. So really, I just trying to describe the nature of the institute I work for, and then this institute also trying to reach the global scene through publishing. For example, I'm responsible for publishing open access journal in material science that I changed the form from subscription to gold open access in 2008 because we are quite aware of the arrival of the sense of open access in science, in particular material science. So now we reached impact of 3.5, which is the highest in Japan, published by Japanese organization in English form. And we still trying to aim to more emphasize and disseminate the research output globally. Also, as I mentioned in earlier session, that we also have eBook series to publish with Springer. To monograph, this is also to deliver the research output in English. So why do we so care about being global so much? There is, of course, as other slides already shown, the growth of material science is very significant. And also the portion of Asia, of course in China is a great contribution, is also growing. And if we look at material science in particular, the Japan is sort of kind of ranking in the citation per articles is quite growing, and we're still aiming to reach to high as possible among other competitive research organizations in the world. So behind all of this, what are views being global or think global? When I think about it, it is really a great chance to think about it really seriously, is that I recognize that when SSP, for example, located in the United States, And perhaps the map you're looking at or familiar with it must be different from other country nations, like Japan is the middle of the global map. But perhaps if you're living in Europe, might be Europe is the center. So obviously, when you think about global, my global vision is this one. So I look at America farther away, and Europe is far the other way. And so how can I reach to there? In language, yes, I'm trying to practice English every day. Still, I hate that, but I'm struggling. And also, we have to collaborate with Asia neighbor countries like China and Korea as well. So really, I'm quite aware of that we have to overcome these cultural differences. But maybe I'd like to take this opportunity, what the problems or what unsuccessful, most likely scenarios that I'm facing through the global collaborations with other organizations, such as in sales and revenue, from both perspectives, the open access publishing or library consortia, like quote, invoices. Financial calendars is different. Our financial calendar starts April, and perhaps you are from September? January, okay. And the currency is different, and also exchange rates constantly changing. And often in the quotes that we receive from organizations overseas doesn't make sense to us. Just one line and one amount of money, and this one is not clear for us. What does it indicate? Normally, in Japanese way, we have more precise contents of what this amount of money means. So we have to ask, what do you mean by saying this quote? And the negotiations sometimes challenging. Sometimes we like to have graph so that it's more clear and easy to understand why this quote comes from or based on. From authors and research point of view, this is quite frequent comments that I receive from research colleagues, that online journal platform often doesn't apply to Japanese language browser. It is very essential, but it takes a long time to get fixed by your publishing platform. And communication is a very daily sort of problem, is that perhaps this is based on different culture, that the contact person constantly changes in other end of organization that I'm speaking to, and I kind of lost the contacts, and I kind of sort of started to losing sort of faith. Am I communicating the right person? Because all conversation doesn't make sense. Why I have to start from the beginning again? Maybe it might quite normal to you, but it's quite sort of different from what I expect from Japanese culture. So all those things, the cultural difference, like Simon Bell this morning asked me what the cultural difference means. I try to avoid the best my effort, but this is quite sort of detailed local version of cultural differences. So I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce two very recent kind of events happened in Japan. I understand that most of you are publisher, so might be you are interested, is that JST, which is Japan Science and Technology Aggregator, which is one of the governmental umbrella organizations, who is also a research funding agency, trying to work with reform the grant in aid on scientific research. This is effective from this financial year, and it's based on the discussion, our discussion, Japan Science Council, that now we no longer give funded money to just simply publishing English journals. We give money to emphasize, strengthen the capacity for international information transmission, put in other words, to promote, to reach the global scene, for overseas readers can easily access and easily understand, and then sort of give a good readership. And this diagram, I didn't have a chance to translate it, but it's going to be published in English version this month by the title, The Future of Scholarly Publishing. that I and my other two colleagues jointly wrote this article, that 73% of Japanese society or society publishers apply to this funding. And then just a couple of weeks ago, some of society received this funding. And these people need to prove in 3 years that how much this global appearance becomes successful. I don't know how, but we have to prove that this funding works to help our Japanese journals. The other one is that JST made an announcement in April that from research funding effective from next year, 2014, the governmental funded research are recommended to get published open accessible, such as international repository, etc. And this is the first time that the word of open access and international institutional repository in research funding in Japan. So it must be like perhaps 10 years later that what's happened in US and UK. And JST is still sort of just saying recommending, not mandatory, because we are not sure whether it's going to really work in the research environment in Japan. This is also, by the way, openly accessible in this URL. So all of this in the background, me and other STM publishers or STM librarians discussing how can we act globally in Japan. And society publishers has their own scenario, what we want or what they want, or librarians also have the how to maintain the collection of journals or eBooks in library. That's really also challenging. So we want to be the part of the global community. The question is how to, we don't know. We know the essence, but we don't know how to make it practical in our life. So my proposal today, which I'm also going to make a similar presentation next week in Japan Science Council, is how about sort of global publishing alliance, because maybe we need a professional support by professional consultations that making marketing researchers libraries and also to get to global promotions or licensing with legal supports and evaluation, because we need to prove that we've done quite okay. So evaluation and consultation support by choosing each professional knowledge or making collaboration between any of these partner of this alliance would be ideal business model that to meet to what we want. So these slides are just speaking to with my colleagues. And if you want to understand better, perhaps this must be the first guidebook for you to read. One of my long-term colleagues in Japan who lives in over 20 years, who is Australian, live in Japan, and saying that the Tokyo version of this one, Culture Shock Tokyo, makes really sense from his point of view to understand Japan. So this would be good to start. And those my guys who discuss from day to day at the breakfast or at the drinking bar that we always talk about, how can we be global? So that Springer Japan, Mr. Yamashita, NISTEP, which is bibliometrician, Mr. Hayashi, and Mr. Fukada, perhaps you know. And I didn't realize that he's a sponsor of Dispatch. And nothing to do with my business relationship, though. And the society publisher, and also physicists and other academics behind this, we constantly talk about this one. So I hope my proposal will do something, perhaps, with you. Thank you.